nhờ dùng cho ý trong sai sẽ đợi từ này số món của người cho bạnว่านู่นน่ะลูกก็อีหลินตุนที่อ้อชอนเส้นก็อ้อรงเชียต่อจากตัวจีอีจงใช้เสด็จเนี่ยตัวในชั่วโมงเดินนอจะสอสื่อเนี่ยตัวน้ำมันเดินลินดากานอแต่เท่านั้นอย่าหลุดชาติส่วนในกุฏิละมุทาจอมแมนเดลาบอนส์จะให้ตัวจังต้าต่อละมุทีเกสไซเจ้าก็ยังรอให้ตัวอยู่เอสเซนเนชเจสันวิสคอนซินต่อตัวจีมงเนี่ยตัวในมิลวอกกี้ต่อการในกุฏิละมุทาจอเกมุจนในไซเจ้าไว้ตัวเป็นสมัยการในจึงเกมบริจาส่วนในกุฏิละมุทาจอมไบเดนยมบ้ามุนต่อชาลินในก็เป็นบิลเลนเนียดอลลาร์cho là một ba đôi bây giờ mấy cái thèm lý bang cái chế thiết khó ba cái chế thiết hơn là cụ thể là một ta so tế cho cầu lệ cầu tế tàu tuần nên có bê lô phong po tàu trôi dễ tàu tế cho cầu lệ cát tế giờ lý nhớ tụi nãy nó cụ thể là một ta so cho chế lô nọ xin chỉ đối với à dùng xe giải tỏ ý trồng sai sẽ được thì đặc là sai cho số mong chát tờ như lúc cổ ý linh tuần nút o trong xe ngõ o tất thân là lụt chát tờ đối ý trồng nhiệt gì cái tin trà thì chọn phong như sẽ được tàu bao cho thì cái gì va giờ tụi dân đua thì một số sự được số mong toàn giải luôn để tên một giá trị món đặc lò cái gì va dù lúc bé linh tuần nút chi trong xe chụp bộ chi cho ý này toàn giải luôn để tên một giá trị món đặc lò từ lúc cổ linh tuần nút thì ngõ bao trong xe ngõ oนึกเจนายมวันนึกเจจะรู้การเลี้ยงใจปีลูกก็ลินตุนนุติเปสติชีชองเซนก็ยอดตุนเดิน Legacy Funeral Home ยอดตัวชาว West Chapel เชียวยอดจีEaton Street ยอดตัวรุ่นตรง St. Paul Minnesota Zip Code ยอดจีสุนชายอดในเรื่องที่มูลสาปชากันนอนสีในหัวเตามุจมบลงว่าตัวสตงยอดโจจีออฟลอสุนยีอีชนจีบลงว่าตัวสตงยอดโจจีออฟลอสุนยีส่วนนั้นมวยลูชาติติยาชาติโรอีจงเนี่ยจีก็ตินิจาที่จะพ้นยูชิสันชับเลยเนี่ยดูรู้สึกมิสคันเซนลูกก่ออีหลินตุนุติก่อชองเส้นก่อยอนโนไซจาดูเธอจ่อเนี่ยดูลูกของหกมงก่ออีเซงเนี่ยดูเซมิสคันเซนเนี่ยเธอรู้เซงเนี่ยดูลูกของหกมงก่ออีเซงว่าตัวจอยใจตัวจุดชั่วตัวมงว่าอย่าเปเซงเนี่ยเซมิสคันเซนมั่วเฟิงมุจอมเบไซจาดูเธอจ่อเราเฉยเจลูกของหกมงก่ออีเซงnhớ đồ xong ở trên ngõ nó mua lên là một sĩ từ sẽ lên thì hiện ở tụi thầy cho nhớ đồ này lúc còn hòm mong có gì xem nhớ đồ xem Wisconsin tôi tụi đời muốn về hồ địa ba cảnh ba thì chuẩn là giờ tụi muốn về hồ địa lau kha giờ liền chọn trong ý trong gì nhớ đồ lúc cổ ý liền tụi nuôi có xong trên ngõ giờ nó mua cái sai cha rồiจะไปxem mong nhớ đồ xem Wisconsin một trong đời sai cha tụi thầy cho tụi này lúc còn hòm mong có gì xem nhớ đồ xem Wisconsin chuẩn là nằm mua lúa cha tại tí ya cha tại đồ ý trong nhiệt gì cái tin cha thì cho phong nhiệt rồi tao bao cho địaลูกก็อีหลินตุนนุตินึงก็จีนึงก็โจเทียนึงก็ชาชวงเส้นนึงก็อ้อนอยาซาคราเมนโตมงลูกไปโจยมดชิชิเนี่ยตุนเขาเชอเขาเอสโพสเนี่ยตุนตรงซาคราเมนโตเซนแคลิฟอร์เนียจอนี่จีก็ตินึงจ้าที่จะพุ่งเชียร์เนี่ยเสริญจงเสริญแสงที่เนี่ยเสริญที่เชียร์ตัวกงจิตโตเนี่ยมาฝั่งใช้ตัวไปช่วงมงยมยังดัวไลฟ์สตรีมจอตัวเสด็จตัวปอเนี่ยตัวเป็นหุ่นติยาอย่าลินจอนจงที่เราใช้ตัวไปช่วงมงที่เราใช้ตัวเนี่ยตุนเดอซาคราเมนโตมงลูเฟซบุ๊กเนี่ยอยู่ปอดจอcái chữ sĩ mù lò cái sĩ từ lò rèn đau chân đòi dạ nhớ trốn để bên hôn đờ nhớ trốn lúc cổ linh tuần hút tì bê cho xong trên ngõ nhớ trốn trong Milwaukee sang Wisconsin Mandela Barnes giờ hi tu trần ta tỏ là một thế kẻ sai cha cái riêng lỗ từ US Senate sẽ sang Wisconsin tàu tuần chiếc rằng lên mong nhớ trốn trong Milwaukee sang Wisconsin chúng xin là cụ cho bên một sai sau đó kỳ nọ
Hey, congrats on, moving on up.
Thank you.
How you doing? Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So they are lining up to be you.
Perfect. Thank you. How you doing?
Hi, Lieutenant. My name is Richard.
Nice to see you, Richard. Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Good to see you.
How you doing?
Team leaders.
Hey, great. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Great.
Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. How are you? Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hey, thank you for being here.
How you doing?
Hey, great. Good to meet you. How you doing? It's good to meet you. How you doing? Good to meet you. How you doing? Good to see you too. How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. How you doing? Good. How are you? Good. It's nice to meet you. It's nice to meet you. How you doing? Good. How are you? Good to see you too. Good. Thank you for being here. How you doing?
Thank you for coming.
Good. Thank you for having me.
Welcome, sir.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you so much. How are you? Good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Hey, good to see you, man. How you doing? Okay. Hey, again.
各种跟着。Right. Good job.
Yeah, special.
Hi. What's your name? Zane, nice to meet you. What's your name?
You go first. You go first.
Just want to say thank you all so much for having me. I want to thank you for the introduction and thank you for speaking on our friendship and the fact that we've been able to work together. And I want to thank you so much for always welcoming me into the community with open arms. It is great to be back because I know the tremendous role that the Hmong community plays in moving this state forward. The community has done so much to advance our state's history, our state's culture, the economy, and livelihood. So for those who I haven't had a chance to meet yet, it has been an honor serving as your lieutenant governor. My story is a Wisconsin story. I don't come from a wealthy or well-connected family. I'm the proud son of a union family. My dad worked third shift on an assembly line and my mother was a public school teacher. And 4 years ago, that story changed when you put your faith in me and elected me lieutenant governor. I'll always be grateful and humbled by that support. And as your lieutenant governor, I've had the privilege and honor of learning so much about the Hmong community, and I've had the opportunity to attend numerous festivals, tournaments, banquets, such as Hmong Labor Day Festival in Oshkosh, Hmong Wausau Festival, and the opening of the Hmong American Center Museum. As I said, I had a chance to learn so much more about the culture and its importance to the livelihood of everybody in this state. When I took the oath of office as lieutenant governor, I promised to help make Wisconsin a better place for everyone, including the nearly 60,000 Hmong people who live throughout Wisconsin. I've been proud to work with leaders of the Hmong community as lieutenant governor. And so when I look around today, I see so much to celebrate. I see people who take pride in celebrating the history and the power of their community, because it's a community full of resilience, and it's a community that inspires me to fight. And I understand there's so much more work for us to do together. We still have so many hardships, and through all these struggles, I promise I'll fight for you. I'm fighting for affordable, quality healthcare. I'm fighting for clean water. I'm fighting for good jobs and good schools to send your children to. I'm fighting so every young Hmong student knows that they will have the support that they need to succeed. And I'm always fighting for working families to have a fair shot at the American dream. Because like most people in Wisconsin, I'm not a multimillionaire. I don't answer to fancy lobbyists that only care about their profits, and I don't have the backing of big oil or big pharma. But what I do have is skin in the game and a profound respect for culture, tradition, and voices. And most importantly, the backing of honest, hardworking people like you all who are here today. The people here who know that our greatest challenges also give us our greatest opportunities. An opportunity to give everyone a fair shot, an opportunity to put working people first, an opportunity to make sure that every child knows that their hopes and dreams are attainable. I'm committed to listening and learning and working to ensure that Hmong voices are a part of the change that we need to move this country forward. I know that better is possible, and I know it's gonna be hard, but as you know, everything worth doing is hard. The hard part isn't what scares me, because I know it'll be that much easier when we show up and do it together. I'm running for Senate because I believe that better is possible. And I believe that we can create a future where hard work pays off and everyone can get a fair shot at the American dream. And I'll always stand by your side as we all work towards a better future. And it's gonna take all of us working together, trusting and believing in the work that we all do to move our communities and our entire state forward together. Thank you all so much.
Especially some of Hmong communities there has been attacked by the Asian hate crimes. We still have a lot of fears amongst the Hmong people, even through hunting, through the pandemic and all these things that had happened to us, especially for our older generation. And you know, us as a community have always been taught to put our head down and try to stay away from trouble and things like that. What would you have to say to our community to help us get out of this rut, and what will you do as a U.S. Senate to protect our community?
So thank you so much for that question. At the very beginning of the pandemic, the governor and I recorded a video that called out anti-Asian hate. It was one of the very first things we did. We did it right away because we saw the rise as it began to happen. At the federal level, that's where you can do more. That's where you can make sure that people are being prosecuted for hate crimes. And if we have a lax Justice Department, it won't happen. But we need the representatives who are going to hold the Justice Department accountable. And by holding the Justice Department accountable, we can hold perpetrators of anti-Asian hate crimes accountable as well. But leadership starts at the top too. You know, one of the biggest problems is that you had leaders who had, I use the word leaders lightly, but you had people who failed to meet the need when it came to showing some leadership. And what they did instead was point fingers at a race of people to make them the enemy, to hide from their mistakes, to hide from the fact that they weren't doing their jobs effectively. And it resulted in the rise and the spike in anti-Asian violence. And we see this play out over and over again. With the Department of Natural Resources, we have also done promotional materials when it comes to whether it's either among hunters or Native American hunters who have been targeted by violence, to make sure that people knew what was and what was not acceptable, and targeting any group of people staying as unacceptable. And we had folks who were out there watching to make sure that people were protected when they were going about their duties, their responsibilities, or their hobbies.
Lo lùi của nu nó mà nu rong đi nó nè, pe cho cái tim mong nhớ cho họ một kỳ nó một trong lần đầu tù xã một tu chính sự, biết xử lý hay tiệt của tu nu từ một apply trong đó police academy là, lấy từ accept nu là, lấy từ giải nu, tất chỉ cho cầu cơ lấy chỉ muốn nu thường đầu là tiệt lấy chỉ vào nu là, nó chỉ nu chỉ lý xia lu xia đó đó rồi nu một chỉ tao chỉ lý, của xã nu cho nên nó Lieutenant Barnes tiệt giờ nu tao lo qua US Senate nè, tên nó nu bây giờ ba tàu bên Hmong hay tiệt cả, toàn tên nó bên sau rồi đó là cú xã bỏ hay tiệt bên trong Hmong nhớ họ nó một chỗ lần đầu tụ xã một tu chính sự hay nè.
So this gentleman's question is, he has a son that wanted to be a police officer, and there's many Hmong members of the community that wants to be a police officer. And he went to the academy, and then at the end, they denied him for whatever reason. But as a U.S. Senate senator, how can you give us equity in jobs like becoming police officers?
So one of the things, when I first took office, I said we're going to lead with the core principles of equity and sustainability. And in every state agency, we have equity plans. We have our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives all across the enterprise in state government, which is something that hadn't been done before, or something that hadn't been taken seriously, making sure that we are more intentional and deliberate about hiring, and also making sure that people who are already working in our state agencies go through equity training. My office had to do equity training. I personally had to do an equity training. So it comes to leading by that example, and I want to continue to do that in the U.S. Senate. The only thing is specifically, with hiring police, like that's just not the role. But in general, I mean, these are principles I've lived by and operated by since I've taken office. But when it comes to local hiring, at the city level, unfortunately, it's not a function of a U.S. senator or a federal officer.
Thank you. Now, the next question here, I'm going to make it quick because Lieutenant Barnes is going to have to go soon. So I'll make it really quick. I'm going to combine a couple questions together, sir. Now, the first question is, there's a lot of folks in the Hmong community, our parents, who barely speak English, and they know little, but because of the State Department requirement for becoming citizenship, they require either a written or to know go through the test process. A lot of Hmong doesn't have the capability of the literacy, so they cannot go through the test process. Is it a way that we could make the state understand that our people want to be citizen, however, going through the literacy test itself, it's difficult. Is there any exemptions in that you see that maybe in the future you could put a voice in there for the community? Now, believe it's not just only the Hmong community, but for every immigration status out there too as well. That is the first question. Now, the second question is that as a Hmong community at large, there's a lot of need that our people still need. Lack of resource funding to help culturally, to educate our kids, or to push the Hmong community forward. What can you do as a U.S. Senate? Can you help us with this process in the future? Or what are your intention as far as making as a part of the voice for the Hmong community at large?
Well, thank you so much. As far as exemptions, I can't speak to those. I just don't know what those exemptions will be and how to figure that out. But it is a part of wanting to keep that conversation and dialogue going. If I get elected to U.S. Senate, my door is open, and we'll, should be having conversations about how do we figure this out? How do we, level the playing field? How do we make sure people have access to opportunity? And same goes when it comes to resources. One thing during the pandemic, when a lot of small businesses were struggling, a lot of small businesses were suffering. Some didn't qualify for a lot of relief programs based on how long they've been open, or based on credit, lack of credit, short-term credit. And we try to fill those gaps by getting resources directly to our diverse chambers of commerce. And there has been historic funding, but still never enough. There's still always more we have to do. But the resources that we've invested at the state level have been unprecedented when it comes to our minority-owned businesses, and want to continue to do that. Even our women and veteran-owned businesses as well. I mean, that's a trend that has been proven to work, because we've been able to revitalize main streets. We've been able to get a lot of empty storefronts filled up. And it's because of people like the business leaders who are in the room today who stepped up, saw a need, and just need a little bit of help to get there. And we provided some support. Now, the job is not fully done yet. We just have a whole lot more to do. And we'd love to work with everybody in here to figure out how we can be as effective as possible in doing that.
Với tụi bây giờ mình cả nhớ được tới cho mình cả cái một trong những sai trái này trường chiếm bộ lý trả nhớ được lúc cho một cái sai trái chuẩn gì nó cũng cho bên một sai cho nhân sự và thả mình chỉ sợ được cái nó.
Xin nói giờ lúc sau被sai cho nó chưa mình cả rồi thế nè被错错赌我哩不打做菜被要做到拜海都被叫个地被叫公母被叫那成人些被帮把呢ปล้องเจ้าลูกส่งปล้องเจ้าเป็นลูกส่งกูตัวยอดเราหูรู้รอหูเนาะกูปอหาแต่รอเนาะใช่อีรอจังจังแห่งเนาะไปปอบาเนาะชั่วตูยอดแต่ในเนี่ยพักที่เราได้ปอแต่是เน้นจอจงว่าแกยอดแต่ไปชีปอบาแต่เป็นยอดต่อเจสือนะ头ยอดแต่เต้าตัวจีนั่งจียอดนะเจ้าลูกเสียหายเตอเนื้ออิมแพคไปรู้นั่งเนื้อ impact ไปข้อ security นะจะข้อนอกกูซาก็ไปมุดจะเจปอบาแล้วตรงมีว่าที่เลยเนี่ยนู่ปอบาเลยเนอะนู่เคยเกี่ยนู่ November วันที่ยี่อ่ะเนอะจะยังเหรอเดี๋ยวเนี่ยตัวจีเป้าเหรอเดี๋ยวบริจาคเดี๋ยวต่อกุ้งโกเหรอเดี๋ยว early vote นั่นสุดเดี๋ยวเลยยังแค่เนี่ยเดี๋ยวขอติ้วนะ
เธอชื่อหืมไบเดนอย่างมุ่งยันเตาชาลินกับเป็นบิลเลียนดอลลาร์จะละหมู่ป้าโดยไปเสอเมริกาโยนโดยที่อเมริกาละหมู่แทงรีหัวเตียenergyสิริแทงรีไฟฟ้าเทียคอเจสอสุชาติโยนโดยลูกโกยลินตุนทุติอ้อช่วงเส้นก็อ้อนอเตียจะเนี่ยป้านอหลอดจอนิดาการนอเราพ้นชิมมิลเลียนดอลลาร์ย่อหลอน the Department of Health and Human Services ละหมู่ป้าไปเสอเมริกาแทงรีวัตเตอร์ซอเทียป้าละหมู่คอเจตีไทยรู้จันดูนอส่วนเดออีป่วนบิลเลียนดอลลาร์ย่อหลอนเดอเธอชื่อไบเดนเทียอีบิลเลียนดอลลาร์ย่อหลอนเดอ emergency funding สอสุตัวชาติตันเสียเดียจะเนี่ยนโยบายต่อลินเดออีพ้นจอมิลเลียนยีนึงย่อดูที่อเมริกาจะมั่วฝืนตัวใจจะเนี่ยนอจะยีนึงไปเสอเมริกาจะมั่วฝืนตัวใจจะเนี่ยนอย่าจะเอาหรือตัวเนี่ยเจอละหมู่ตัวอินดานเดอย่าดูลูกโกยลินตุนุติอ้อช่วงเส้นนึงก็อ้อเตจะกูเรียกเอาเตตัวตันทอนึงก็ไปลูกปองปอตัวเตอเทปองเจดูเตจะกูเรียกอาเตนเดเจเตสอสุตัวชาติตันเสียเดียอีลุนเดนึงก็ไปลูกปองปอเดตัวปองเทเตอเจตัวนึงกดโจไมเกตัวนึงเจเตเตจะกูเรียกเอาเตเตจะกูเรียกอาเตส่วนนึงสอสุตัวชาติตันเสียเดียขอนอตัวเตจะกูเรียกอาเตตัวตัวลุงปองปอมุขเคโดเตจะกูเรียกเอาเตซ้อนเดเตจะกูเรียกเอาเตตัวลุงปองปอเทียตัวมุเตเจเนี่ยตัวนึงเตจะกูเรียกอาเตrồi nó giờ tới thời rồi nó tới chỉ cầu lệ cổ tê tuần tàu luôn phong bao tuần thời giờ nhớ tuần tới chỉ cầu lệ cá tê rồi cơ kiếm một đi nó giờ nhớ rồi trong ít xe cho bộ cho chi chuẩn được trồng phơi cầu liệt cá tết tàu hai tận gì đi lúc phong bó tua thơ dễ nhớ đồn để chia tết tết cầu liệt cá tết tết cầu liệt khẩu tết đờ giờ tàu tua bông thiết tờ dễ lên được pro cho mày được luôn trồng muốn luôn bề hùa đi sọt trầu chuẩn được trồng phơi cầu liệt cá tết tàu hai tận gì đi lúc chuyên trò chen trò bê seng cầu lì cho kế một sự sang giờ pin trò được thổi gì tặng chỉ cho chế function gió chuẩn được trồng phơi cầu liệt cá tết cho tú cho tôi chát tại đi để nên có bê lúc phong bó tàu tuôn đờ tết chơi cầu liệt cầu tết tua một bông rồi chính trả dễ chuẩn được tết chơi cầu liệt cá tết đờ cổ xa lúc phong bó giờ tuổi già sinh gió trâu lúc phong bó giờ tuổi già ta su trở lý do sự tao chát tận gì thì tết chơi cầu liệt cầu tết tua trong phong bó nó tua một trôi dễ chuẩn được tết chơi cầu liệt cá tết đờ giờ kia có tết chơi cầu liệt cá tết thì tết chơi mấy cả chê kể là một cái tu cho nhớ rồi chính trả đờ chuẩn được sự tao chát tận gì thì pi lúc có ý liền tu nuôi thì có ý chọn trên nó có tết chơi mấy cả thì tết chơi cầu liệt cá tết tôi sĩ công khi cho tu cho trong thiên nhà hàng nhớ rồi chính trả để tết chơi cầu liệt cá tết đờ ý trồng sai sẽ được của cho số sự cho tôi thải như từ lịch số mong chặt tới như từ lúc có ý liền từ nước tây chọn xin có là số liền nó sư của một người trồng xe tôi chọn đó rồi này số lên số tụ tôi thì là một sai số mong nhớ rồi nó tao còn luôn từ lúc tây bỏ hơi này số lên số tụ cả chuẩn chỉ cái nó cái nhau rong quay về cho bà lệ ba để mà xin gì đùa